Amongst my small fit of yearly allergies, I've been thinking how YouTube currently works and how I really hope that I won't ever start chasing the thumbnails, the titles, and all the other stuff that for me makes the current YouTube system and the ecosystem of current platforms like Twitch and YouTube so annoying. Since I began recording myself purely for the English portion and to force myself to focus more on the positives in culture and in whatever I've done so far in my life and things I enjoy, either doing, reading, watching, and so on. If someone actually does listen to my barely coherent ramblings, even though the quality is low and the effort put into making it an actual YouTube video is even lower, that does make me, albeit slightly sadistically happy, but it is definitely not the reason why I started doing this in the first place, since it never was my purpose to make a successful YouTube channel. I highly doubt that it's even possible with my editing skills and my, let's say, unwillingness to participate in the trend chasing, which seems to be a huge thing for anyone who wants to stand a chance, and that would just go completely against the reason why I'm doing this. Even the part of me actually uploading the videos itself, that was basically just on a whim. I wanted to hear myself speak, and I wanted to know what I do unconsciously when I talk in English, and I wanted to purely talk about something that's not triggering any sort of unpleasant feelings. And so far, I think I am kind of happy with how I'm approaching things, and it even helps me train my memory, which has been slightly failing me. I think it's just lack of concentration. I don't properly focus on what I'm meant to remember. It even got to a point where I need to make notes for the, I can't even call it a book, but the story, because I literally forget what I wanted to write seconds later. I just need a small distraction and everything's gone. So hopefully making these videos will help me with that as well. Now, regarding Asterix, I realized that large portion of the actual enjoyment of comics in, and it's not like discovering America, it's obvious, it's the pictures, and I haven't been doing a great job in describing these, so I would like to at least mention some of those that stuck with me even after so many years. Surprisingly, there are a few of them that I immediately am able to recall when I read the name of the volume, well, specifically the one in my native language, and that plays into the part where I would like to keep things purely based on my memory, since this is still supposed to simulate a conversation, and I can't exactly pull out the comic mid sentence in real life while doing so, just to remind myself of a certain panel, and that again plays into the memory part that I've mentioned before. So, only positives here. Without further ado, it's this time Asterix and the Banquet, or in my native language, it would be translated as something like Asterix and the Tour around Gallia, which begins with another high official visiting one of the camps around the village in valiant effort to subdue the Gauls. He decides to lead the soldiers against the rebellious village. And now, as I've mentioned, there is a picture where immediately after the announcement that they are going to fight against the villagers, the soldiers are lining in front of a sick bay tent to try and escape their inevitable future, which proves to be a kind of prophetic, since the attack fails and they obviously get beaten. So, in an effort to isolate the village from the outside world, the official decides to build a barricade to try and prevent them from influence the outside world with their rebellious ways. And in a retaliation to that, Asterix and Obelix make a bet that they will tour around the Gaul and they'll collect the regional culinary specialties for a sort of a banquet to celebrate their successful journey. Also, while building the barricade, one of the soldiers says "Exegi monumentum aere perennius," which I think there was a translation underneath the page in my native volume, and it said something like, "I build a monument more permanent than metal." I think in Czech it wasn't just any metal, but it was specified as bronze. So with that, our heroes break outside and immediately aim for their first destination, which is Lutetia or Paris, where they get scammed into buying a beautiful horse and chariot, only to find in the moment that rain begins that it was just painted and the chariot itself was faulty. That happens after they experience a traffic jam in Lutetia and buy the local ham as their first portion of the specialties they promised to buy for the bet. Fortunately, after their vehicle breaks down, they meet the local equivalent of towing service, which they promptly seize for their own purposes and continue on with their journey. They buy some sweets, encounter a poor legionnaire whose chariot broke as well. So, since they are currently manning a towing service chariot, they actually pick him up and he unknowingly helps them go through a checkpoint. Then he realizes that they are the ghosts the legionnaires are supposed to catch, and thus they abandon him. And there is a great picture showing how in our time there are billboards everywhere around the roads. Here they are advertising wine from their next destination. So they continue to Lyon, where there is a perfect depiction of small back alleys where a resistance member, that means the Gaul's prior, leads the legionnaires as a part of a plan to help them finish their bet. Then he gives the Gauls the local specialty, sausages, and in the last panel we can see just the city and the conversations between the legionnaires who are still stuck in the maze of the back alleys, and one of them attempted to leave a trail of pebbles to find his way out, and unfortunately, one of the soldiers has been picking him up because he thought it was just something his official lost. So we get a speech bubble full of pictures indicating horrible profanities while the Gauls are on their way to their next destination, to Nice, where they get some salad. Then they seize a small boat from a tourist and cross the sea to Marseille. The poor tourist then tries to row it back, but fortunately that's impossible because of the current, and he is seen with the boat on his back, unhappily carrying it around on the land. Meanwhile, the Gauls buy fish stew in Marseille and get helped by the locals in stopping the pursuit of the legionnaires with a game of French national sport, pétanque. Their next stop being Toulouse. En route there, they encounter some Romans who kindly offer them the transport straight up to Toulouse. So they accept seemingly their invitation, then buy some sausages and continue to Aegean, where there is a bounty on them, which an innkeeper tries to claim but fortunately fails. And this, this being their second to last destination, they receive prunes and continue on to Bordeaux, where their bag holding all the specialties gets stolen, and then the legionnaires proceed to capture the thieves instead of Asterix and Obelix and present them as the Gauls that tried to disrupt the Roman Empire. Unfortunately, they realized that they got the wrong guys, and Asterix and Obelix reclaim their belongings, beat up the Romans, buy some oysters and wine, and finally return back to the village. While on the sea, they again meet the poor pirates, and the old pirate is now known for quoting Latin after each one of their encounters, and they finally arrive at the village and they have their grand banquet. They invite the official who initiated the bet and serve him the Gaul's specialty, which is the uppercut. And that's the end of this volume.